All right, guys, welcome to my channel, guys. So Nigeria. All right. So I don't know where we're actually headed in the case of the threats of Donald Trump. All right, because this is really raising high concern globally, and because of that, other countries like China and Russia is now beginning to oppose what Donald Trump, the threat of Donald Trump to the very Nigerian government. Come on now, let's be clear with this. Donald Trump never said he was going, or maybe he was coming after the Nigerian government. He said that he was coming to help the Christians to get rid of the genocide, those that has been the jihadists and the terrorists around the Nigerian environment, all right, that has been unaliving a very huge number of Christians in Nigeria, that the government has refused to do something about it. So this is a proper discussion, I would say a breakdown of some discussion on and why the president of Russia and also the president of China is now showing interest in this matter. So let's take a look and the reason why they are saying that Donald Trump should withdraw his statement. Although we know very well that, we have a lot of these China companies and China billionaires that have mining companies where they mine gold and some other investment that is also linking to the Russian government. Maybe this is the reason why they don't actually want Donald Trump to invade Nigeria against the terrorists that has been unaliving people on a daily basis. But I'm going to leave you guys to the breakdown discussed in this particular video. And please, just in case you're first time you're meeting us, please do as well to subscribe and then turn on the post notification bell so that whenever we upload new videos, you get notified. Take a look.
Thank you. It's been a real issue. Should the Americans really come and help us wipe out, terrorists who have, really vowed the cleansing system like ISWAP? They've never hidden their own, dastardly acts against the Christians in Nigeria and the rest. But now some friends of Nigeria, Russia, China say, we're not going to stay idly by, for a sovereign country to be invaded and the rest. What are your thoughts when you look at the international perspective, dimensions to this? What really should Nigeria be doing and the rest?
First is to understand what this country is doing. So I think what they're doing basically is also playing their own politics, which is to say, look, we can't allow Nigeria to go ahead to, to damage the prospect of, a sovereign country. Again, let's not forget that Russia has the same problem like Nigeria. Issues, allegations, China feels bad about the way it's classified like Nigeria. So in the one sense, in the breadth, it's political strategy. They are also trying to say, Nigeria, don't go there. The idea of Nigeria interfering, quote unquote.
No, America, don't go there.
Sorry,
rather.
Nigeria, America interfering Nigeria's, domestic policy. Is something that China has always taken a position against. That's a strategic foreign policy is to say, allow countries do what they want to do. That's the Chinese almost many decades policy stand. Russia, too, has been an outlaw. Don't forget that the president of Russia is facing the ICC, arrest warrant. So they are going to rebuff an idea of another country dictating how they manage domestic affairs. But in recent, I think Nigeria has perhaps done well in not escalating from the government part of it. Prince Tinubu has been silent. Maybe, let's assume, studying the situation, engaging diplomatically. All this flare up, people are saying, oh, China is coming. China is not going to come. China would like to be Nigeria's good book, or rhetorically, so that after the storm, they continue with their mining business, with all their business deals. China is not going to hit America or stand in America's way in any confrontational way. Because even when it comes to Taiwan, which is critical to China, when America raised the rhetoric and tried to engage them on that, they don't pull the trigger. China understands clearly that economically they're competitive, but militarily they are not. Russia is not even going to, Russia is pleading America not to release the Tomahawks for Ukraine. They're not going to do anything. But I think what this moment calls for is clarity. One, it's clear. I think the political rhetoric is dangerous. America never said they're going to invade Nigeria and probably should not. America, I think, reckons Nigeria as still a very good business and diplomatic partner. America needs Nigeria. Nigeria needs America. But what I think America is concerned is about the terrorists. So Nigeria's position would be something like, as long as we work together, you help us, because Nigeria also says that the terrorists is a prime security challenge to Nigeria. So both parties agree on what is not clear is this genocide, is not genocide. Let's leave that in one bucket. But what is clear, as we
is how to wipe out the terrorists.
And the guy says, terrorist says, we are killing Christians. So this is not the Nigerian government. This is not Nigerian Muslims, so to say. This is Islamic terrorists claiming openly that they have a commitment to kill Christians. So the Nigerian government should never say, oh, that's not true. So the question of genocide is a genocide committed by who? Committed by terrorists. So often the people assume that, oh, it's a genocide. It means that, it must be the Nigerian government. For example, Nigerian citizens can be victims of genocidal attack by external persons. So assuming a country or an ethnic group outside Nigeria intends to kill a Nigerian ethnic group, will you say it's not genocide? It's not Nigerian government that's genocidal. It is the terror, the Islamic terrorists who, by their own admission. So I think Nigeria's game is to say, we want to protect first territorial integrity. We don't want to be invaded, even if they're going to help us fight terrorists, it will be with some kind of understanding and respect as a sovereign country. So the U.S. defense could work with Nigerian defense, get some protocols, collaboration, and deal with the terrorists. Again, at the level of public diplomacy, I think there has been some damaging statements made by aides and mercenaries here and there and proxies that don't flow from knowledge about international politics. Again, if you look at the human rights instrument, I think that's a provision for what they call the right to protect, which allows all member nations to take action. Yeah. The question is there a egregious violation of international human rights that requires that intervention? Nigeria has actually been part of doing that. I mean, when we talk about ECOWAS trying to go into Liberia
and Sierra Leone and the rest.
They're not also called us. We say there's something that we have obligation to deal with. So
to save mankind.
To save mankind. So the question is, first, what's happening in Nigeria? Now, the Nigerian government has admitted that the level of terror killing, whether it's genocidal or otherwise, has come to a proportion that's alarming.
And that cannot be allowed to continue.
And secondly, that we have failed in the past years to really be effective.
And the failure is being seen as complicit.
In fact, failure in mass violence by a state authority is complicity. If I was sitting in the ICC, I bring a case that a state with military, a state with defense capability cannot protect a community from repeated attack. That suggests two things. Two, either they don't have the capacity, which is doubtful. Two, or they connive with those invaders. So Nigeria cannot really, in reality.
It's obvious, but I think from the commentary, in the public sphere, it is obvious that there is connivance. We've heard from officials of, governments serving in the past, just 2 years back, who pinpointed the reasons for the invasion of these terrorists of Nigeria. I mean, they are hired by foreigners to come and do our mining here. Those who even want to intervene for us.
Yes.
You understand? In Zamfara, all the gold belt from Elisha down to Zamfara, Niger and the
even
rest.
The governor, I mean, it's very funny the way Nigeria.
The governor of Zamfara
says,
he said so on Arise News.
Yeah, yes. So if a governor of a state says, I know where this terrorist is,
why is the Nigerian government denying their presence or what?
It's political rhetoric. If this matter goes to
politics with the life of the people.
The point is, any reasonable person will tell that Nigerian government is complicit, whether willingly or involuntarily. If you're a state authority and there's a terror group wreaking havoc on your citizens, and you can't go after them, and you have a list of their financiers. By the way, since under Buhari, we got from Dubai, UAE, United Arab Emirates, the list of sponsors. They have not taken on these sponsors. They have not addressed. Pastor Deboye was said it treated Buhari to move on, and Buhari fought back. So this is the point. The terrorism in Nigeria has a religious and ethnic coloration, in the sense that the religious component disables effective action. And that's why in the literature of social science, we say that Nigeria is what they call weak states. Now, weak states are not just states that don't have the arms. Weak states are weakened by the inability of the state to retrieve itself from contending social forces. So, social interests, a state is captured by one of the contending interests, be it religious, social, or ethnic. That state is weak. So, if you really want to go against bandits, and they are Christians, and you are a state that Christians have captured, then you foot drag in going after Christian bandits. If you are a state that have been captured by animists, for example, and the criminal gang you have to deal with are animists, then that state is weak because there's sympathy. And by the way, that's when Jonathan was in power. Some of the high-ranking officials says, we sit in meetings with Boko Haram sympathizers. I mean, that is allowed. A whole Danjuma, who is as fully paid up as anybody institutionally in this country, former this and that, former defense minister, told you that you shouldn't rely on the Nigerian army, that your own army is compromised. So I think that the reality is that President Tinubu has a great job to do now, to sort out this, the difficulties that is towards an election where he seems to be more politically mobilized. Otherwise, this calls for real think, recreating the military.
One quick correction I want to make is that the Nigerian army or the Nigerian military is not compromised. They only wait for orders.
So, no, they're
as if they don't know.
They know what to do.
It's not as if they don't know what to do. Times without number, Tajir, the kingpin of the terrorists, has been pinpointed severally.
You're absolutely correct.
And
Nigeria is one of the strongest military in Africa. So the question then is, why not letting them get a job done?
It's a political.
So I think Nigeria should now hunker back from this Trump thing and ask real questions and say, what can we do to improve this fight? How can we get Americans to help us? How can we strengthen our own military? But the key point, you're right, is that the commander-in-chief, look at the way the American military has changed because of the commander-in-chief. Mm-hmm. They renamed it Department of War. This is a first-class war country. Mm-hmm. But they recognize that even as a country, the political crisis hobble their military capability. Mm. So if Nigeria's military is not delivering, it's not because they can't. It's that the political crisis leadership has not allowed them to put out their lethality. This is a lethal army that can get the job done, but the political team is not on the same page.
In 24 hours, the Nigerian army can
get this job done.
They can get it done.
I agree with you.
But first, here is my take for today, entitled, Still on Mr. Trump and America's Help. This issue of what President Donald Trump's intervention means for Nigeria is quite a thing. I certainly don't support an invasion of our country, but I'm persuaded that the US President, Mr. Donald Trump, would not invade Nigeria. Americans are fatigued for that. He would rather support our government in this unending insecurity and killings, gales of needless death among our people. What we can't ignore also is that when the renewed global campaign regarding the killings in Nigeria was gaining momentum in the US media and in American government circles, Nigeria had no ambassador, not one, not in Washington, D.C., not in New York. So all of the brewing happened at a time where for the first time in Nigeria's history, we didn't have ambassadors for 2 straight years. We still don't. No Nigerian ambassador anywhere on God's green earth. None. So my worry is that such a deeply dysfunctional situation sat pretty well with our president and sat pretty well with his 2 foreign affairs ministers for this long. That's my worry. The president himself, in the same time, refused to personally attend the United Nations General Assembly, where his presence and the platform that the UN offered would have been sufficient to knock down those undesirable slants and distortion of the Nigerian narrative. He ignored the UN for 2 years. This was where he could have explained and pushed back on those brewing antagonism against Nigeria. At times I worry. Is it that the president lacks good advisors, or is it that the president simply does not listen? We can list a litany of errors and most embarrassing fallouts of the way the Tinubu presidency is being coordinated. So much that one must wonder, what's the problem? Is it the president or his kitchen cabinet? Let me say this. While there is still time for correction, let's say this. With poor coordination, the best visionary leader may end up in the same category of clueless leaders in the annals of history. If we have a visionary president, like I believe President Tinubu is, if there is no coordination, it will be no use. So, one very good outcome of Mr. Trump's intervention on the killings in our country is that it is forcing the Nigerian government to address the insecurity in the country with a required sense of urgency and to become more decisive. So I must confess, I am told that the president is now meeting traditional and religious leaders in the country with the intent of rallying us together to do the needful. He has met the Sultan of Sokoto and he has met the Archbishop of Abuja Catholic Diocese. And the ground is being prepared for some very important, drastic decisions. That is a good one. Now, let Mr. President make it abundantly clear to the new military service chiefs and the others like the IGP and the DGDSS and all of those that have something to do with security that changes are necessary if they are going to keep their jobs. The president must tell us that the days of appeasement of terrorists and bandits and this band of extremists are over and gone. Let the president do that. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu must answer the name of the leader. That is what Asiwaju means. Asiwaju, after all, means a leader. Let him enter into a fight, a duel with the backers and the financiers of terrorism and the purveyors of violence. That is why he holds the reins of power. That is why he's called the commander-in-chief. That is why the president exclusively controls the instrument of state force. He can use it. A few days ago, Baba, Pastor E.A. Adeboye, was right in his recent, timely, and well-thought-out counsel to the president. This was what Baba said. When giving orders to the service chiefs, this time around, he's talking to the president, we should make it clear to them that they are not only to eliminate the terrorists, they should eliminate their sponsors, no matter how influential they may be, unquote. No matter how influential they may be is the active phrase, Mr. President. Mr. President, there is nothing stopping you. Go ahead and you should assure us as Nigerians and assure the global community, including the American president, that you are ready, able, and willing to end the reign of violent impunity in our country. Then you should seek the assistance from our friendly nations. In doing that, you should engage successful diplomatic icons such as Professor Ibrahim Gambari, Chief Emeka Anyaoku, Professor Bolaji Akinyemi, and others to help you design a roadmap that can recalibrate Nigeria's place in the world and specifically restore a more desirable narrative for our country in the community of nations. In conclusion, here on Inside Sources, we have called attention to the killings, the impunity, and the lack of justice. The perspective of the victims must be the compelling narrative in us as a people trying to understand what the Trump intervention means. Let us use this American help for our own good. It is about our people that have been killed, that have been murdered, that have been displaced. And we can do it. There you have it. In Sources today, I am opening the show with a conversation with a number of Nigerians abroad and also here in the country who have played some important role and will be playing an important role in the Trump intervention to the killings in the country. And so I have two guests from the United States who are joining us by Zoom and a guest here in the studio. My guest in the studio is a lawyer and is a board member of the Irigwe Development Association in Plateau State, where we've had a number of the victims of some of the killings. I'd like to welcome back to Inside Sources, Mr. Redzi Jugo.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be back here again.
All right, excellent. Now, online, I have two important Nigerians whose voices and action clearly are also in play. Starting with Professor Nimi Wariboko from Boston University. He is the G. Mwelda Professor of Social Ethics. Professor Wariboko, welcome back to Inside Sources.
Yes, thank you, Lalo Akande, for having me back.
Thank you. And from Minnesota, we have the president of the Save Nigeria Group. This group will be organizing what seems to be a big rally in White House on the 1st of December. I'd like to welcome, for the first time, to Inside Sources, Honorable Stephen Osemwegwe. Honorable Stephen, welcome to Inside Sources.
Thank you very much. Very delighted to be here. Look forward to our deliberations.
Excellent. So let's start with right here in the studio with Mr. Jugo. I'd like to ask you, so what is your take about the intervention of the United States president on what has been a recurring crisis and of genocide and massacre, whatever name is called, in Nigeria? What do you think of his intervention?
Thank you once again. The truth remains that we would have wanted a situation whereby it didn't have to come to that. What I mean by this is that everybody likes a situation whereby whenever you take your cries to someone who is your benefactor or who is your president, like in this case, you want to see a situation whereby he's as proactive as possible. I believe that to a very large extent, all that is going on within the country for the last 10 years has been cataloged and has been curated by the current government, because they have reminded us time and time again that they knew about the problems before they got into the office. And the idea of coming into office to try and make sure that all the problems that have been existing are giving a Midas touch. We see something different going forward. So I for one, didn't want a situation whereby it became necessary that it had to take a American president to have to make his voice heard on this matter. But be that as it may, it has now been done. I, for one, come from a community that has been ravaged time and time again. We have seen too many killings.
That's in Plateau State?
Yes, in Plateau State. In Plateau State. I'm from Kwal village of Bassa local government in Plateau State. That is the Irigwe community particularly. And we have seen more deaths than we should have wanted. People who grow up it's a very agrarian community. People farm on a regular basis, do contribute a very large cache of crops. Miango pepper was coming from there, and a lot of other things. But where are we now? They have practically disappeared. Almost every rainy season, you're almost sure that if you plant and your plants grow, you are never sure that you're going to harvest them, because you're going to one or two things is going to happen. Either the place is so insecure, the area is so insecure because you're going to have gunmen that are going to show up and shoot you or kidnap you, or people are going to graze into your farm or into your farmland. That has become a fact.
That's what standard.
It has become standard. So where we are today now, I would like to call on all and sundry and all stakeholders, including the government, that where this communication has come from America, it should largely be about, can we collaborate to try and make sure that where we seem to be deficient, because there's obviously a deficiency somewhere.
Right.
You cannot be talking about the same thing year in, year out, and all that you do is to add to the tally of those who have been dead or those who have been injured. I just called from the community just this morning. He said, and I'm asking about the latest tally in the Irigwe community. And he said, please give me till this evening, because I need to add to the number of individuals, because in recent times, of course, there has also been killings. So that has been the situation down the line. I want to see a situation whereby the help because I see it as some form of an assistance as well that can be rendered by the United States. The question is, have people been killed in their beds, in their room? Have children been massacred? Have women been killed, throat slitted in this country? Yes. Has it been far too much than it needs to be? Yes.